Good morning and welcome to the Idaho Falls Unitarian Universalist Church in Idaho Falls. We're glad you could join us on this beautiful spring morning for our 5th online service. I have a couple of announcements this morning. First of all, my name is Vic Allen and I'll be the worship associate today. Today is our 5th service online, and that's thanks to Reverend Jackie, Drew White, Daniel Smith, and we're bringing you this live from the church sanctuary. Please bear with us if anything doesn't flow smoothly. We are continuing to learn the new aspects of this process as we go through this difficult time. Weekly announcements. First, we'd like everyone to please sign up on the chat box to the right of the screen. This will let us know who's joining us. This is over here, okay? We will be having sorrows, concerns, and joys, but that will happen after the sermon. At that time, we'll read those that came in earlier by email, and then after that, I'll read some other sorrows. Concerns and joys to be posted to the chat box, and it will be read and a candle lit. When you share one in the chat box, please first indicate if it is a sorrow, concern, or joy. Finally, before we get started this morning, we need to mention how we stay afloat. Later in the service, we're going to have an offertory time. There are several ways you can do this. On the screen, there is a photo. Society will be gathering online. They'll start their meeting at 6:30 p.m. And if you're interested in more information, you can contact Josh Coliotti about that. This morning, our congregational moment is on behalf of the Idaho Falls Community Food Bank. The Idaho Falls Community Food Bank will be the recipient of our April Change for Change. So keep that in mind when you're writing those checks today. Unemployment, well, is not low at the moment, but unemployment is a very poor indicator of how many people go hungry. So it is that across the country, and including here in Idaho Falls, that the Community Food Bank will be our Change for Change recipient in April of 2020. The Idaho Falls Community Food Bank started in 1980 and has served the hungry and the food insecure, a community commitment to helping those most in need. Currently, the food bank serves over 850 families monthly. In some months, it exceeds 1,000 families. Now, all these are local folks using the Idaho Falls Community Food Bank to survive, basically. So please be generous in your help today. I'll remind you that all the checks not designated as pledge or otherwise a donation will go to the Idaho Falls Community Food Bank as part of our donation. I'd like to move into the worship part of our service this morning. I'm going to ring the peace bell. As I ring the peace bell, I would invite you to relax, take some deep breaths, and for a moment, let go of all your anxieties, fears, and worries. Be in this moment. We will begin our service with our prelude.
You're the cream in my coffee. You're the cream in my coffee, and you're the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. You're the starch in my collar, and you're the lace in my shoe. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. Most men tell love tales, and each phrase dovetails. You've heard each known way. This way is my own way. You're the sailor, my love boat. You're the captain and crew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. You're the cream in my coffee. You're the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. You're the starch in my collar. You're the lace in my shoe. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you. You give life savor, bring out each flavor. So this is clear, dear. You're my worst dish, dear. You're the sailor, my love boat. You're the captain and crew. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you.
We will begin our service with our prelude, which you just heard. Thank you, Jessica. Now please join me in reading the UUCIF covenant. Love is the spirit of this community, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, in search of truth, in love, in help, and to help one another. We've also lit our chalice this morning, and I would invite you, if you have a candle or a chalice with you this morning, to light it at this time. If you don't have one immediately available, we invite you to consider having one for future services so you can join in our candle lighting. Our candle lighting this morning is from Reverend Bumbaugh. And he says, Unitarian Universalist congregations are dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is unity which makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We've lit this flame in our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, as silent witness to this unity.
Greetings, good people. Let us be present to each other, present as we are at home, but yet together, virtual community. Let us find a deeper unity of spirit in that, and in that our lives then will be empowered anew with truth, beauty, and love as our grounding. We gather virtually, for we are all eager to know, to face the mysteries, and to confront the hard questions together. We gather, for in our gathering, we can rejoice and be glad to have been together, though virtually. Indeed, this morning, we have gathered in the virtual presence of each other in kinship, to seek kindly words, to celebrate matters great and small, to know each other's pain, to offer kindnesses that heal, to be in friendship. All done virtually, yet together. And now I invite you to join in singing our opening hymn, hymn 360, Here We Have Gathered, which was sent out earlier as a PDF file.
Let's go to hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered. I will play it all the way through, and the second time we'll start verse 1.
Greetings again. I've decided not to do a short overview of the first sermon I did on coffee, but instead I wanted to offer a preface of the aria that Jessica is going to be singing for us later. The story goes that Father Chandler despairs of his marriageable daughter's ever giving up coffee. He implores her daily to renounce it. And she tells him that if she doesn't get her 3 cups a day, she'll wither and dry like an overcooked roast. Then she sings him an aria in praise of coffee. Thereafter, her father threatens to keep her from going to weddings, taking walks, buying new fashions, leaving the house, and even looking out the windows. She responds that she'll concede all of these if only she can have her coffee. Then her father tells her she cannot marry. She tells him, hurry up, find her a husband. And while he is away, she sings that she'll insist on the right to drink coffee whenever she likes in her marriage contract. In a final trio, a narrator, father, and Liebchen, the daughter, sings that women can no more give up coffee than cats can give up mice. Now, let's hear our lovely Jessica sing that aria by Bach.
Far beyond all other pleasures, rarer than jewels or treasures, sweeter than grape from the vine. Yes, yes, greatest of pleasures. Yes, yes, rarest of treasures. Far beyond all other pleasures, rarer than jewels or treasures, sweeter than grape from the vine, sweeter than grape from the vine. Coffee, coffee, how I love its flavor, and if you'd win my favor, yes, yes, let me have my coffee, let me have my coffee strong. Coffee, coffee, how I love its flavor, and if you would win my favor, yes, yes, let me have my coffee, let me have it strong. Coffee, coffee, let me have it strong, yes, yes, let me have my coffee strong.
Good people, I have a confession to make. I love coffee. For as long as I've been a minister, I've been known among certain colleagues as the espresso minister. I take my portable espresso machine with me to overnight conferences and retreats to make sure I can have a good cup of espresso in the morning to jumpstart me, so to speak. I also make a cup for any colleague who furnishes a cup to me. So every morning there have been at least 5 or 6 colleagues lined up at my door with cup in hand to get a jump start on their morning. Now, every coffee aficionado knows coffee is more than a drink. It's more than liquid refreshment, useful for washing down after-dinner cookies and breakfast Danish. It's more than a staple you keep in constant supply like flour or sugar. Coffee is even more than the sum of its parts, a hearty, rich sense, a steaming, frothy fluid, a purveyor of reassuring, percolating sounds, a pleasing, warm brew that slides down so smoothly. The millions who enjoy it as part of their daily grind know coffee is a companion, though an inanimate one. Coffee goes along on trips, opens the conversation, closes a meal, invites fellowship, initiates romances, accompanies work hours, and helps heal the fractures of the day. Coffee isn't just something we drink as a side item. It's often the main item or the main course, the reason for our meeting, the day's finest moment. It's something we count on as much or more often than a close friend. Coffee bridges the routines, interruptions, joys, and surpasses the days on end. And many of us would say it helps us glide through those days more gracefully. I say, fill it to the brim. Taste it with all your senses. That's its power. Yes, that's why I love my Java. Now, for a long time, a few of my favorite words have been, meet me for coffee. I love it when in a chaotic moment or any time when I could use a break, the phone actually rings or I get a beep that signals I have a new email or a new text and the message says, meet me for coffee. A sign of relief escapes my lips as I grab my sweater or jacket and head out without hesitation to an understood destination. Once there, I settle in my usual place and await my friend's arrival. Often while waiting, I'll wonder, what should I order today? A latte? A cappuccino? Something stronger? A shot of espresso with just a little water? Mellowed by a bit of cream? Sometimes my inner thermostat indicates that I need cooling off, so I mull over iced coffee options. No matter what I choose, just sitting there among the delicious scents and fellow imbibers lulls me to a more peaceful place than the one I left. Members of the local coffee clutch, at home or in the office, have given themselves a new name, Sisters, Brothers of the Bean. A well-rounded break time calls for more than agile jaws and a comfortable meeting place or spot. Partakers must gather round more than common ground, a common grind, espresso, cappuccino, raspberry, German chocolate, cinnamon flavored, makes for a livelier discourse and lighter moods. That is, perhaps, coffee's finest contribution, that of creating companionable ambience that draws folk of like mind in similar situations into discussion. Sister and brothers of the bean share a camaraderie that runs deep. We often meet. Coffee is a daily habit. We really appreciate the way warm Java makes words flow, and they keep flowing freely. The result is nothing less when we gather than stronger friendship, deeper understanding, and firmer emotional footing. It's unknown exactly how coffee evolved to its current hallowed state, but it's easy to see how it keeps its place of honor. For me and many of my coffee bean friends, coffee is our favorite excuse for coming together and our favorite reason for staying a little longer. A fresh cup? All right, I'll have another cup. You know, sometimes it seems that coffee is just what the doctor ordered. I'm experiencing, or you're experiencing boredom, inertia, writer's block, painter's block. We coffee devotees know the handiest cure is as close as a kitchen cupboard. All we need to do is get this lethargy packing is a good stiff cup of joe. You know, history backs our theory. We're told Beethoven counted out 60 beans for every cup of coffee he consumed. And look at the artistic result. Henri de Blanc credited his abundant writing career to prolific coffee consumption. Reportedly, Napoleon avoided wine, but imbibed coffee throughout the day, quote, to revive the spirits and invigorate the body, end quote. An abundance of the beanie brew kept the German poet Goethe in a state of near delirium as he was writing the Sauer Wetter. A cup of caffeine uncorked the talents of Picasso, Van Gogh, and Monet. And apparently, Lady Astor found courage in the cup to say to Winston Churchill, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your coffee. To which he, similarly inspired, replies, if you were my wife, I'd drink it. So it goes down to the years. Coffee loosened talents, often to marvelous and time-honored results. Is it any surprise, really? Who of us coffee drinkers hasn't appreciated the fresh vista we see after drinking a reviving cup of the rich brown river, liquid gold it's often called? Why are coffee mugs? No other beverage vessel can boast this, by the way. Why are coffee mugs available in designs specifically constructed for travel? And note that varied forms it takes to satisfy the mass appeal. You don't just have to drink it. You can chew it, chocolate-flavored espresso beans, or savor its flavor in a cheesecake. The warm hum of coffee enlivens angel food cake and puts the bite in ice cream, too. You need never look far for a coffee buzz. It's everywhere, isn't it? So a favorite antidote to boredom and its tiresome relatives is but a few steps away, that kitchen cupboard, or a short drive to the nearest Starbucks or other local coffee establishment. And we know you can find love among the beans. The 1990s witnessed a switching of affectionate places to go to. Men and women on dates used to hold courting in theaters, fancy restaurants, or dance clubs. Though all those establishments, up until mid-March here, still enjoyed active businesses, the coffee houses have earned the allegiance of those experimenting with romance for the first or for the fourth time. Why? Because, quote, want to get some coffee is so casual an invitation, so uninhibited a premise that no one can refuse. What better way to explore the tastes and dreams of a potential partner than by exchanging thoughts and glances over cups of shyly ordered and subtly enjoyed dark nectar? The ambience of the coffee house, the mingling voices, the fragrant aromas, the delectable desserts, encourages a relaxed manner and calm collusion. Friendship arises naturally, like steam from cups, and words drop between sips in an easy current. Romance can find roots there, and this is very fertile ground for couples. When my husband Dan and I were first dating, we often combined two loves, drinking coffee and browsing books at a local Barnes & Noble's bookstore that also had a coffee cafe in it. For those already ensconced in romantic bliss, or those just testing the concept, coffee drinking provides an arena where words and emotions find expression. Espresso makes for quicker commitments and more robust declarations of devotion. How many spouses have soothed an aching head with suggestions they go out for coffee after dinner? Can we count the engagements forged over flavored creams, the hands that entwined over a plate of almond biscotti with a good cup of espresso? How many a suitor has been spied from across the coffee cafe room? The reason being, if he likes coffee, he must be all right. It's true, no statistics exist to prove coffee's influence on those tending towards love. But one thing is sure, all that fluid conversation can't help, can't hurt. Now, you don't absolutely need companions to benefit from coffee's perks. One is never completely alone when a cup of coffee rests at the elbow. When human companions can't be found, that big, friendly mug, a gift probably from one of those chums, stands in their stead, urging introspection. Thoughts swirl in a mellow fashion, much like the cream in your brew. There is no hurry here, no anxious thought. This is just a time to reflect and savor the marvel of the beans ground to a powder and mixed with clear water. The solitude sipper might look out a window as she muses, or she might not. Outdoor scenery is less important than our inner landscape for these moments. For me, that is often when I'll explore the hills and valleys of my day, or week, or year, or topics of future sermons. Sometimes I'll contemplate the faces that people my world and give thanks appropriately and wish for more times like those, and then celebrate the unexpected pleasures by having another cup of coffee. The role coffee plays is such a scene. It's subtle, but it's not passive. As the only other warm body in the room, coffee comforts as much as it refreshes. Although it can't stimulate conversation or offer advice, it can, by its obtrusiveness or unobtrusiveness, summon soothing to a weary person. It can be the first step towards rest and a conclusion that says, more of this is exactly what I need. Relaxing is only the start. It's what the consumer and that cup of coffee do with the other hours that makes the difference in life. As coffee's creative juices flow, the drinker's dreams may awaken, purpose may be restored, ideas may hatch, bitterness may break, and forgiveness may be extended, all from minutes alone with a cup of coffee. So when a friend isn't available, a cup of coffee always is. So I like to spend liberal time with each. So let me summarize here about coffee's perks. Coffee, as you heard, fits many moods and every occasion. It draws folks together, eases conversation, and bonds strangers into community. It's the friend that is always at hand, the jump start for exhaustion, and the heartiest toast to the day's end. Coffee has accompanied some of our greatest artists and keenest minds. It sparks and has sparked brilliant ideas. It's rescued the cold in heart and weary in mind, brightened the eyes, quickened the speech, and nurtured the development of dreams. So I say, what more could we ask of such a simple beverage? Only that another cup is poured again and again, and maybe even again. Now, having said all the fun things about coffee, I want to move into how sipping that cup of Java is a religious as well as spiritual act from a UU perspective. Thomas Jefferson said, "It is in our lives and not our words that our religion must be read." We Unitarian Universalists have always promoted our deeds, not our creeds. Our living tradition challenges us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Now, I understand that there was a time when the coffee brand Equal Exchange was served during coffee hour here at this church. Equal Exchange is a U.S. socially responsible fair trade business. It pays small farmers about $2.35 a pound for their coffee, compared to the approximate 80 cents that the big coffee conglomerates pay farmers, then turn that around and sell it in the coffee for an inordinate amount of money per pound. Equal Exchange seeks to give a fair and equitable price to coffee farmers who are members of the co-ops. They are equally committed to helping farmers stay in business by providing them loans at low interest rates. Coffee growing and harvesting is labor intensive, And today's coffee farmers face displacement by the introduction of biotechnology and machinery. And unfortunately, today, too, by climate change. All this threatens to make small farmers obsolete. When these people lose their means of livelihood, they are added to the growing number of unemployed, underemployed, and subemployed. Equal Exchange is committed to helping coffee farmers keep their land and their way of living. UU congregations across the United States, through their hospitality and social justice committees, are delighted to purchase coffee from co-ops in the Central and South Americas that is offered through Equal Exchange. Now, it's also good to know that Equal Exchange supports and encourages small farmers to plant and grow their coffee organically, thus preserving the quality of the soil and their environment. And it supports and promotes shade-grown coffee as opposed to the corporate method of mowing down trees to get more acreage for planting. So the canopy there, when they keep it, gives migratory birds a home. Now, by purchasing coffee from providers such as Equal Exchange, either for at home or for coffee drinking hour, we UUs can practice socially responsible behavior. We can live by our deeds. I want to lift up that there are many other brands of coffee that offer the same social equal justice benefits, and many places that serve sustainable coffee. Believe it or not, Starbucks and McDonald's are two such places. And Idaho Falls has the Chapelera Coffee Company, which is a local roasting company and cafe where you can purchase such kinds of coffee. So I invite those of you who are drinking or serving coffee to purchase socially ecological, sustainable coffee. And though it costs a little more, it certainly tastes much better than Folgers or Maxwell House. Now, I want to end this reflection, Coffee Perks, with this tongue-in-cheek piece called Joe for President. It's by Michael Persiano, who wrote it for the 2016 election. He wrote, "After much thought and discernment over the upcoming election, I put to you this alternative candidate for the President of the United States. Commonly known as Joe, I believe a good cup of coffee would make a great president. Crazy? I think not. Just consider the following. Who else can truly reach across the aisle and unify both parties, has no partisan ties, and is loved by the Democrats and Republicans alike? Joe. From the very early days in our country's history, Joe has played a critical role in our political process. Who was there to fill the void of caffeinated beverages when Mother England's tea was tossed in the Boston Harbor? None other than Joe. And let's talk about foreign policy experience. Having been around thousands of years and whose lineage comes from countries like Ethiopia, Yemen, Kenya, Colombia, Mexico, India, Indonesia, Brazil, and many more, who else is more qualified to deal with the pressing needs of foreign policy? You got it, Joe. When it comes to thoughtful and creative ways to solve our nation's critical problems like the economy, climate change, and health care, and energy exploration, I say let Joe take a shot at it. The coffee houses of past centuries were breeding grounds of social discourse and political debate. Our ancestors must have known of the political and social powers of Joe. I say, let's get back to our roots. Joe is one of them. He has nothing to hide. He's been there in good times and bad. He's stood alongside our brave soldiers in times of war and struggled right along with us during economic turndowns and recessions. He's dined with princes and paupers alike, and every time he was still Joe. He has substance. He's not transparent unless brewed poorly. We know who he is and what he stands for. So I implore you, fellow Americans, we have another choice come Election Day. A vote for Joe is a vote for good taste for generations to come. So this Election Day, vote your conscience and vote for Joe. So ends my Coffee Perks reflection.
Thank you, Reverend Ziegler. You can't see it at home very well, I suspect, but part of our set dressing this morning, there's a little sign back here that says, "This home runs on love, laughter, strong coffee, and the generous donation of our friends and members." It actually says that on there. I would remind you this morning that all donations are not specifically designated for the Unitarian Church. Will go to the Idaho Falls Community Food Bank Program, Food Basket, sorry. If you decide to send a check, send it to UUCIF at the Post Office Box 5076, Idaho Falls, Idaho 83402, an address you can find on our website, if that went by too fast. Also, please write 5/10/20 change for change in the memo line of your check, and unless you want to designate it as part of your yearly donations. We'll now hear Black Coffee, which is being offered by Jessica Kuipers. Thank you.
And now it's time for Black Coffee.
This is a very special time in our congregation where each of us has an opportunity to share major events in our lives, our joys, our concerns, our sorrows, so we can all be uplifted by our UU community. As Reverend Jackie reads the sorrows, concerns, and joys that were emailed to us, I will light a candle. And I'd like to start off by sharing a joy of my own, if I might, and that's my mom, who, for those of you who don't know, not only gave birth to me, but gave up one of her kidneys to me in 1979. So I always figure she gave birth to me twice.
A joy. Ron and Jane Goins' granddaughter, Morgan Gooden, is graduating Wednesday, May 13th, from the law school at the University of Arizona, and is at the top of the class and is going to be offering the commencement speech. How about that? Isn't that a joy for them? Another joy. Vic Allen has another joy, and that is on Wednesday, May 6th. He says, much to his surprise, he celebrated his 60th birthday. A joy, too, and also a sorrow, is that at the same time, many mothers are not being able to see their children or their grandchildren because of COVID, but are joyful at the same time that they do have ways to connect through social media. And we have another joy that Drew is going to share.
So Elizabeth Cogliotti shared with us that Clarissa made her a pink carnation for Mother's Day, and it was made out of beautiful cardstock and sparkly hot glue, and it was very pretty. And Allison McCready shared that she has a joy of flowers and grandchildren's pictures.
Thank you for all those joys. And I'm asking Vic to light the red candle here, the red candle to signify our sorrow for all those people who have died during this COVID-19 time. We hold them in our hearts. And now let us join together in a time of meditational prayer, spoken at first, and then with a short time of quietness for peace that comes with quietness, and then followed by singing the hymn 1002 or 002, Comfort Me. O thou eternal Spirit, in whom we live, move, breathe, and have our being, in the confines of a few brief moments, we pause amid the strains and conflicts which fill our world and which sometimes fill our very being. We pause and seek strength and confidence and direction. We hope that we might gain further insight into the life about us and be helped to see the meaning of our days and be helped to refrain from interpreting for others the meaning of theirs. Source of life, may we find strength to meet all that gives us all that life prepared for us. May we have the strength to be free, free of the shackles of the past and of the corruptions of the present. May we have the strength never to overestimate our own virtue, nor to underestimate that of others. May we have the strength to see that we do not have many answers to the problems of life, and the awareness that we are not inadequate because of that. And may we have strength to hold back our good advice from those who do not seek it. May we be able to meet the wholeness of our lives with equanimity, with a quiet acceptance of things as they are, and with the understanding that all people meet like joys and like sorrows. Spirit of life, source of life, may we share the one and be a comfort in the other. This prayer we make in the name of all those people present and gone. And now let us have a moment or two, or a minute or two, of quietness. And I'll ring the peace bowl when it's time for us to come back and sing, Comfort Me.
Hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. I will play the melody all the way through, and then we will start the first verse together.
My closing words are by Marshall Gangsley, which is the cartoon in the cover of today's order of service. The words are humorous, of course, today. I pledge allegiance to the cup that holds my caffeinated beverage, and to the drink which it contains, one container full of coffee, indispensable with energy and caffeine for me.
Even though we probably all know this melody, I'm going to play it through one time, coffee, 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 to the tune of Holy, 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 and then we'll start with the fun lyrics.
I invite you now to join me in extinguishing our chalice, or join me in the readings of the words while Reverend Jackie Ziegler extinguishes our chalice here in the sanctuary. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now, before we play our postlude, at the end of the service, I would invite you to participate in the virtual coffee hour, which begins after the postlude. The link was sent out in the announcement about today's service. So please join us for the virtual coffee hour following our postlude.
All right, Java Jive time. Slip me my poncho, taking